Hello beautiful people, here's my update on grow abundance, not lawns. So as always, we're starting out here with this control group here. You get to see this beautiful mono height lawn. There's not a whole lot more going on out here. After a couple mows, a lot of the flowers that had shown up earlier in the spring at shorter heights, they've all kind of died. Now basically the most things that are living out here is a little bit of clover, mostly grass, maybe a random wildflower here and there, but you don't really get a lot. So not a whole lot of diversity, not a whole lot of bugs or anything floating around, just kind of, you know, what you'd expect. Green, same height lawn. Okay, we're gonna go inside and I will see you on the other side of the gate. So this is the mid-July update, which means I've been only doing things for about 4.5 months now. That's when I first put in like the center garden and started making healing holes about every 2 weeks. So I'm actually due to make a healing hole today-ish. So look at this. We got a bunch of different flowers already. Look at these beauties. Got some black-eyed Susans too, another wildflower. So we're already coming in here. We've got a bunch of different types of flowers. And I just love it. This ground is softer and warmer. I can tell that it's coming back to life a lot more than the ground outside is, which was still kind of hard. So I'm really excited about that because I love walking bare feet. So comfy ground is everything for me. Yeah, so a whole bunch of awesome flowers. So we got so many different flowers growing out here. As always, I just love appreciating all the different flower types. Here's a nice clover popping around. I was waiting for these guys to see what they would do. And they've got like flower stalks. Really cool. So here's the healing hole I put in about 2 weeks ago. You see how good it's doing already. Lots of sprouts. They'll be doing awesome. Here's the one before that, so maybe about a month. So you see it coming to life. Now the healing holes are doing so much better than the middle area, so highly recommend following that healing hole process. Because here's the one that's about 6 weeks old. I mean, look at this thing. Like the corns in here are doing as good as the corns I put in months ago at the beginning of all of this. So the healing holes, highly recommend. Now this episode also doubles as the before of putting in that ancient soil amendment that I was showing you, that inoculant. So definitely check out that ancient soil inoculant and how to go about making that. And I'm going to do an update in a couple weeks to see how everything looks. But here's the middle area. So what I did with the middle area is it's kind of my control group, if you will, of the minimal practices that are typically done. So this was soil I inherited with the land. Again, it was just a play area. Not the greatest soil, but better than what the yard had, because the yard was like 1 millimeter of topsoil. This actually had a couple of inches of, workable soil. But I did have to come in and till it. I added a mulch and I heavily planted it out. But a lot of the plants didn't do so great. So you could tell that they still wanted a bunch of fertilizers or something else. And what they could have done really well with is if I would have added that inoculant at the beginning of this. But I also didn't want to do that. One of the reasons I didn't want to do it is because I wanted the plants that survived to be super hardy, because one of my first goals of this was to collect seeds. And I wanted to collect seeds from the best and the hardiest plants that required the minimal amount of work from me. So I know if I created like the optimal conditions for them, I definitely would have got more food, better plant growth, more abundance. However, I don't think I would have gotten the best, most awesome seeds that required the least amount of effort. So that's kind of what I was going for, which is why I waited 4 months and waited for plants to actually pick up. And for the ones that were too weak to make it, for them to die off before I added that inoculant. So we'll see if it starts supercharging the growth and abundance in here. This is where I just literally flipped sod and planted seeds. And actually at this point, I couldn't even plant new seeds. The soil was so hard and compacted underneath it, I couldn't even put new seeds into it. So I just added the inoculant, and we'll see if that softens the ground as those microorganisms come down there into the soil. Also, it's grown over, so now we actually have this weed covering it from the sun and stopping it from baking. So the combination of those microorganisms and some shade I'm hoping will soften that soil, and in a couple weeks from now I'll be able to actually plant it out. But yeah, so very minimal effort in this row here. Still okay, but this was planted at the very beginning, so that 4-month period. So that's 4 months of corn growth you see here versus 6 week of corn growth you see here. These guys are probably going to catch up to them. We'll see. Maybe not that bad. So I want to show a little bit of the before in here. So doing all right. I still have gotten a lot of food out of here. I've actually been collecting some today. But not nearly as dense and abundant as I know this place could be and will be now that I've added a whole bunch of life into the mix. Let me harvest one of these cucumbers too, or zucchinis rather. Ooh, I got a tomato over here. Yum. So yeah, there's still quite a bit of stuff growing in here, giving me some really good food. But you can see that the insects are, still coming in and taking out some of my plants. They're definitely not the most robust, and that the inoculant is designed to alleviate that. So again, we'll see an update here soon. But all right, this was the middle area. Again, very low effort. It didn't have the fertility that the healing holes had to get going. So again, this is kind of my control group. What does minimal effort look like when you till, you plant dense, you put in a mulch, and you see what happens with just very basic soil. No fertilizers, I spent zero money on any type of inputs. That includes the healing holes. But definitely not as impressive as these guys. I've gotten so much food out of this hole already. And I want to just keep emphasizing that this land started off like this. Like it was nothing. Dead hard pan, solid rock, solid clay rather. And boom, look at it. Look at these heads. So I've added the inoculant to these guys too, which I think is going to supercharge it. But it had a bunch of good microorganisms anyway. That is the point of the healing holes, is to fill it with life. And we did that. But look at all of this. There's just so much growth happening here. So these guys are maybe 3 months old now, and I've gotten tons of harvests out of them already. All right, let's see if I can't find something new. I got a whole grill full of food out of this guy last night, so I'll see if anything else is ready today. Doesn't quite look like it. We have a bunch of guys started. Looks like we'll have a couple harvests here shortly. Oh. You know what? I'm going to have this one. It probably could get a little bit bigger, but I think that'll be nice and tasty. Look at this cucumber. Yum. Add it to my cute little harvest basket. All right. So, again, some more updates of what these holes look like. And this just used to be lawn. And I really want to keep emphasizing that I know I have spent less time putting in all of these holes and planting all of this out and doing all the work out here than I would otherwise have to do if I was mowing it. I'm super lazy and I've got a lot of things going on in my world, so I had to figure out a way to grow abundance, connect with my food, heal land without it taking very much time. And ultimately that was the entire point behind the healing hole process and everything I've been showing you. Now, these guys didn't do as well. They really took off with growth. I think the density was fine. However, I really wish I would have added more microorganisms to it, because every time I came out here, the soil was solid. It was drying out. It just didn't have enough life to support the amount of food that was trying to get grown out of it. So if I would have done it all over again, I might have, but actually I'm still really happy because I've got a bunch of good gourds coming. There's still some really good food, and each one of these is going to have the best seeds that are going to be able to handle really poor growing conditions. So I just added that inoculant today. We'll see if it supercharges these guys and gives them a bunch more life. I'm looking forward to that if it actually happens. And I think down here is where I'm going to put in another new hole, because there's still a ton of space, a whole lot of sun that's wanting to be captured and turned into more beautiful plants like you see these guys growing here. But yeah, this could have just been a yard that I would have had to come out here and keep mowing for whatever reason. And it blows my mind because so many people around here, literally the only time I see them outside is when they're doing yard maintenance. So it's like, what are you even freaking mowing it for? You could be growing food out there with very minimal effort. So that's really the whole point of making all these videos, is to show people that that's possible, and to explore it myself. I actually think I'm going to harvest this guy. He looks ready. Yum. So now I think I have breakfast. I'm not going to harvest anything more now, because as I always play it, is I harvest right before I'm about to eat it. So I don't need to harvest everything. That's probably enough to feed my wife and I and baby. And we've been getting so much food out of here. Like, we don't have to go to the co-op for the last month and a half now. We've gone, I think, once, and that's just to get extra stuff that we want. I think like a chocolate bar that we're going for. But we haven't needed to supplement our diet out here, which has been really awesome. I've gotten a ton out of this hole already, and I've replanted it just recently, so I'm going to go for our next batch of it, because this is one of the very first holes I put in, 4 months ago, I think. I think this was the first hole I put in. But this was the laziest hole. Each hole I put in a little bit more effort, because I found out it was worth it as I kept seeing it. And I was trying a bunch of stuff. Again, it was like, what's the minimum amount of effort I could put into it? The mistake I made with this hole is I put too much clay on top. So I didn't go and get the soil. So very few things actually sprouted. But the things that did, they did really well. They're super hardy. Got a bunch of harvest out of it. And I'm going to let a couple of these beans go all the way hard and get the seeds out of them. And I know those are going to be some awesome plants and some really healthy seeds. Okay, so that's kind of an update of some of the yard. Let me just show you some more of this, because when you look at the yard go, quote, wild, I've had so many different shows of different flowers. So you've seen some of the other videos, maybe you've seen some of the different flowers I've had out here, but these guys are new. And they're just so freaking beautiful. I just love coming out here and checking out the different flowers that come and seeing what's new and smelling them and being surprised by them. They're just really cool. So just loving it out here. So here's my invitation to, if you have land like this, to steward that you're not mowing it. You're not wasting your time doing some weird monkey stuff where we're sitting on some murder machine and driving it around or pushing it around and making all this noise and polluting our air. Just doing all this ridiculous stuff. Instead, take that same amount of effort you otherwise would spend mowing, put in some healing holes, make some ancient soil inoculant, and grow some ridiculous, tasty, delicious abundance. So that's my little bit of an update. Let's walk around one more time in the main area, because there's so much more I didn't show you. So, because why not? Look at those sunflowers. Those are so pretty, and they're coming in so many different colors. Look at these, just a bunch of different reds and yellows and some lighter yellows. And I had like a white one, it looked like, the other day. Then it turned a little bit orange. Look at these wildflowers coming through. Hello, pretties. Just wow. Wow. And so here's where people would say, like, oh my gosh, Creeping Charlie, the weed's taken over. The weed is helping so much. Because like I said, the areas where it wasn't growing, it got hard. The sun just baked the ground, it cooked it, things couldn't sprout. But the areas that have this Creeping Charlie protecting it and feeding the soil, those are where my seedlings do actually sprout and do actually pick up and take up. So that's been really, really great to see that, again, no such thing as weeds. Weeds are just our best workers in the garden. Look at all those different flowers in there. That whole front section that's now empty used to be all potatoes. I've already gotten like 7 different potato harvests. So fantastic. It's time to harvest potatoes when the leaves go yellow. Actually, I'm going to show you a potato harvest because I want some potatoes. Yum. So look. So you see the leaves are turning yellow. This plant's kind of dying. So it's telling you it's dead. It's on its last stages. You could keep burying it, and I know some people want to do that. I don't like doing that. I let the plants live out their life, and then I eat them, which is another thing I'll probably make a micro video on, is I feed all of myself without killing anything. I harvested all of these without killing the plant, right? I didn't have to rip the plant out of the ground and murder it in order to eat the beautiful fruits that it was providing me. You know, here's a bean. I don't have to kill the bean plant in order to get that bean, right? Now, this potato plant, in order to eat it, I just wait for it to die. When it becomes yellow, it's dead. I could wait for it to just fully die now, but right now it's dying. So I can then come in and just rip it up right here, and look at these potatoes. Yum, as big as my hand. Nice. And that's just how you do. And some of these plants too, like they'll just pop out a potato every now and again too. Let's see, what else do I got in here? Got this other big guy. Connected right to it. Yeah, okay. And now all of this is gonna be mulch. So I'm just gonna put it right back down on top of the soil here, like this, right? And that's gonna feed the soil. So no waste here. I got this guy, a little baby one. Sometimes I put these as in seeds. Sometimes they work, other times not. But it's just so small that it's either gonna feed my soil or grow into a new potato plant. So whatever. So I'll just find a new little spot for that and just pop it back in the ground with a bunch of gratitude. Thank you. And we'll see if that just gives me a new potato plant. All right, so I got another potato in there. Let's see what else I got in here. Any more? Yeah, I gotta. Anyway, so that's just I can come out here and harvest some potatoes. I'll keep digging around here in a second. They don't take up much room either. So look, it's right next to a strawberry plant, right next to this cabbage plant, right next to a squash that's growing me some squashes, right next to some carrots. So you can just pack a whole bunch of different food in here. Fantastic that way. All right, let's see. Anything else I want to harvest? Oh, we got some extra tomatoes in here too. Maybe look at that guy. Yummy. Yeah, all right. I've also really grown fond of green tomatoes. They're so freaking good. I've been grilling them up, barbecuing them. So potatoes are super delicious, even before they turn red and become even more delicious. But yeah, that's generally it, guys. Just grow abundance. It doesn't have to be hard. I literally spend 80% of my time just marveling out here and playing around in the forest and finding food. Then I spend about 10% of my time mulching and planting. I do it at the same time. So every couple weeks when I feel inspired, and sometimes I follow the moon calendar. But you look up the moon calendar, it'll tell you when's a good time to plant certain different types of plants. So you can use that to inspire you. Then I pop those seeds in my mouth. I come out here and I just find empty gaps or places where there's just a bunch of things I didn't plant growing. And then I plant the seeds in the ground and then cut back those plants and put them on top of it. Super simple. So like for example out here, these guys, I didn't plant them. They're like a sage. They smell freaking so good. And I've been drying some and burning it as sage too. It's freaking great. And it just smells fantastic. So it's a really good herb anyway. But it's super wild out here. I'm growing a ton of it. So what I'm going to do is this will be one of my next areas to actually plant out. Is next time I come in and get some seeds, pop them in my mouth, plant them into the ground, cut some of these guys back to put them on top to feed that spot. And that's it. So you don't even have to kill the plants again. You don't rip them all the way out of the ground. I cut them back. They regrow again. So you want their roots to still be in the soil, providing nourishment to the bacteria, biology, fungi, nematodes, and everything else, right? So you're feeding the soil food web, which is going to feed your new seeds that you put in there, which is going to help you grow abundance. So, and again, I want to just keep emphasizing, I've got so much food out of this middle area, and it was with such little effort. And I'm getting so much more doing it the healing hole style. And if you have land or access to land that has anything more than 1 millimeter of topsoil, then you could be doing better than I'm doing. You'd already have a better base than I started with. So anyway, hope this inspires you to grow abundance, not lawns. Love y'all.